Alright, Scotty, cheers, eh? What we got today? Mountain Culture Local Brew.
Mountain Culture beers.
Very nice, just down the road.
MTB, it's for the boys.
Cheers about that. Well, that's good. Alright, wrap up. So, we have done a first impressions on this bike, which you can find on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all those things so you keep seeing more of our content. So today we're basically going to wrap up this bike. Scott spent a bunch of time on it. Now, just to give us a brief summary, bring us up to speed with that first impressions of this bike. How, what do you find it early on days compared to now?
Yeah, look, obviously from our previous review, when you pulled this bike out of the box, it's fair to say that aesthetically this bike looks amazing. I mean, the bike's very, very neat looking, a full carbon frame, like it's obviously spec very, very, very well. So right from the onset when we pulled this bike out of the box and got this bike together, one thing we should touch on is for a direct company, like an online company, they do pay a lot of attention to the actual build of these bikes, because when we pulled it out and put it together, there was really, really minimum to do. So if you're not that mechanically minded and you're looking for a Canyon, trust me, they do spend a lot of time putting their bikes together, which was cool.
So it's really user friendly. I think that's a bit of peace of mind. You know, some people, they want to get obviously a really nice bike, but they might not have one all the time or all the tech know-how. So it's pretty cool to think that these bikes are pretty much coming fully tuned, ready to roll, which actually segues nicely. So first time we talked about the bike, it was still quite first impressions. You hadn't done a lot of setup. Let's talk about some of the setup you've done since then. Have you adjusted anything to kind of make the bike come to life more? I know we've been to Threadbar on this bike in a few places now where it's been obviously quite demanding. What are some of the changes you made throughout the test period?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm a bit funny, a bit picky about setups, and as we've said, a million times before, setups are a bit of a personal thing. With this thing here, like obviously all your gears, brakes, wheels, everything come tubeless ready, so it's all really, really tuned. So I didn't really play a great deal with my bike setup. Yeah, I played a little bit with the cockpit area, my brake levers. I changed the grips because I'm pretty picky about the grips that I use. The tyres it comes with, like Maxxis tyres, is pretty much the same setup as we use for our control tyres, so we didn't have to change that as well. And again, like the Fox suspension platform as well. So as I've said before, in comparison to others, the Fox stuff I find does take a little bit more time to set up. But with the new 38s up front, the new X2 air shock in the back, once we got it dialed, this bike was Mickey Mouse.
Awesome. Now, when I've spent a bit of time on the Canyon website as well, checking out the torque range, and one of the things that sort of strikes you straight away is how many options there are when you're picking this bike or picking which model. So, interesting to the torque. You can go full 2.9er, 2.9 front and rear. You can go a mullet setup, so 2.9 front, 2.75, or you can go a dual 2.75. Which model, which spec is this one, and do you reckon you got it spot on?
Well, I mean, this is the full 29er. So again, like the fact that these guys are offering the same model bike in a variety of build options depending on your budget. So whether you like Fox, SRAM, Shimano or whatnot, you've got the option for a number of build options, but also this bike, because it leans more probably on the side of a freeride bike, more probably a bit beefier than an enduro bike. So it's pretty cool that they offer this in a standalone 29er, a 279, so the Mullet, and also it runs a standalone 27.5. The only difference is the 27.5 runs a 180 fork, where this runs a 170 fork up front and obviously 170 in the back.
Mate, 170 front and rear, that's quite a lot of bike. It's kind of bordering into downhill bikes of the past. Tell us about some of the different kind of trails you've ridden on this bike, and tell us about the kind of rider that's going to get the most out of the new Canyon Torque.
Yeah, look, as touched on before, when we first got this, we went down to Threadbow and cut a bunch of park laps on this bike as well. One thing I've noticed in similar bikes we've tested previously in this sort of travel, this thing, funny enough, is actually pretty lightweight, and is actually, but yet still remains nice and planted over a variety of terrain. So I wouldn't actually call it an enduro bike. I wouldn't actually call it a free ride sort of bike. I'd sort of call it something in between, if that makes sense. So for you're definitely your more gravity fed guys, the guys that actually want to buy a bike, but want something that they can pedal to the top of the hill, want something that's really going to put a smile on their dial down the hill, but yet if they want something they can still go out and pedal 30, 40 Ks on it, you can still do it on this big whip. Even though it's a bigger 170 front, 170 back, burlier sort of enduro bike, like more on the heavier sort of sides of things, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if I actually saw some guys on the EWS circuit running this as their enduro race bike. It was that good to pedal. For a big burly bike, it was actually amazing how well this thing pedaled up the hill.
Now tell us a bit about the geometry package. On the charts, it doesn't seem extreme to one side or the other. How does it feel in terms of its livability? Does it feel like they got the numbers spot on?
Yeah, look, it's really good. Like, I mean, in terms of, you know, you see a lot of brands now going to this size specific geometry as well. Canyon's no different in that sense as well. So what a lot of brands are doing now, and Canyons is doing it exactly the same. So from a small bike right up to an XL, which this is, they are, you know, changing the numbers in relation to head angle, seat angle, how steep it is and whatnot as well, swing arm length, reach, etc. So what essentially they're trying to do is they're trying to provide, whether you're 160 centimetres tall or 192 centimetres tall like me, you're going to get a bike where the kinematics are going to remain, you know, relatively the same, and you're going to get the same riding experience across the board.
Awesome. So look, mate, tell us a bit about the bike's personality. Obviously, I know you like to hit jumps and whatnot. Is it playful, or is it more of a planted on the bike?
Yeah, like, again, like, that does, like, depend a little bit on, you know, how you set your bike up. Again, as I've said in previous videos, I do like my bike to feel rather planted. However, in comparison to some other bikes I've tested in this sort of realm of bike, the 170mm sort of freeride sort of style bike, yeah, this thing is a bit lighter. It is a little bit easier to corner. It is a little bit more nimble as well. And yeah, it's actually quite good in the air. So I found on some of the larger jumps out there and whatnot that we've been doing, especially locally as well, I found this is very, very composed in the air for the type of bike that it is.
All right, Scotty, so overall you spent a couple of months now getting to know the Torque, testing and pushing its limits. Mate, what do you think in terms of a wrap up? You know, what's this bike like in your term?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's so many different variables in the bike market, as everyone knows these days. So, you know, if you're more of the gravity fed rider, you want a bike that you can definitely pedal to the top of the hill, but, you know, you want to sort of explore the outer realms of, you know, what's capable of a mountain bike. You want a bike that you can really hit some heavy lines on that you could do on a downhill bike. You know, you want to do some big jumps, you want to do some gaps, but however, the sort of thing you want to, you know, go and pedal on the weekend as well, then this is definitely the style of bike that will be for you. So if you're an aggressive bike rider who's definitely a gravity junkie, then I'll definitely be considering the Torque. You know, we get so many bikes these days and so many good quality bikes, but and this is right in there with exactly the style of bike that I like to ride. So we've pumped a heap of trails on this, from bike park laps, technical stuff, heaps of fast rough stuff. We've absolutely given this bike a beating and it's loved it. So I've got no faults with it. 10 out of 10.
There you go. Sounds like Canyon has absolutely knocked the new Torque on the head. Cheers to that one. And yeah, let's get on to checking out some more bikes.
You.